The next discussion we're talking about is the future of social media, and where businesses on social media are headed and how we're reaching customers and the tech platforms and all that. So we have some really great guests for you guys here today. So without further ado, let me invite the guests on stage. So Mr. Haitham El-Khatib, who is the Vice President of Sprinkler, please welcome to the stage. Mr. Mohammed Mortada, CDP and Marketing Analytics Lead for Oracle. Welcome. Melda Akin, founder of D14.ai. Tala Al-Nunu, Head of Marketing, LWK and Partners. And Mr. Imad El-Makawi, CEO, Sports Passport International. Welcome. How are you guys today?
Very good.
Very good. Had your coffee? Ready to go? Feeling chatty? Yeah? Very good. Excellent.
A bit hungry, though.
Hungry? Yeah? Okay, we'll get through this, all right? So I'd like to welcome you guys here today. And obviously, there's a theme of what we're kind of doing here, and it's the tech, the social media, how we've evolved during this pandemic. What were the challenges we faced? What are the challenges we're about to face? And how we're growing as businesses and individuals in a post-pandemic planet, even. So without further ado, Mr. Haitham, please.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to thank the organizers and Zaina for having the opportunity. And I was listening to the previous panels, and really, really interesting stuff. Particularly that, very proud to see that a couple of our customers, Dubai Tourism and Mashreq Bank, speaking about how they were able to handle the pandemic and look at the modern channels, or we call it modern channels, which is social media, as well as all the other modern channels, including messaging and so on and so forth. I've been in this business since 2012. And I remember having meetings in 2012 with some of the executives of some of the companies and brands, talking to them about why it is important for you to actually respond to people on social media. And at that time, these were very interesting times because, I think brands and companies didn't realize the power of modern channels. And fast forward, today, and particularly the last 18 months, I think that, I'm not going to repeat what everybody else said, right? The amount of data on modern channels, and especially in the last 18 months, has been exponential. And I think those brands that have been building an infrastructure of being able to handle, to really listen to their customers and prospects at scale, which is really what is important, and then being able to, at real time, action that data and respond and so on, have been really the winners, and kind of really came out unscathed. And if we take Dubai Tourism's example, it was a brilliant example of how they really utilized the data and the KPIs and in terms of how they listen and action into the campaigns that they sent. And you heard Mr. Assam there speak about the level of deep engagement that they have with their audiences, and then basically changing the message according to the sentiment of the audience, which is really brilliant. So that's what we do basically, and as a company. And I think as we move forward, that's what we're going to see more of happening across industries, across social media and all the other modern channels.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's a new world now, and the adaptation is key, and the innovation is key, and we've all experienced it in our own ways. So Mr. Mohammed, how are these tech platforms evolving?
Great question. So what actually the pandemic have done to all of us is they changed things forever. So we've seen a lot of organizations scale in a very fast way, coming into digitizing their infrastructure, digitizing the way they interact with their customers and the way they interact with prospects. So the big question right now that, yes, I've invested a lot in technology, but how am I going to bring it to the next level? And the next level is a matter of scalability. And to Haitham's point earlier, that yes, how I can address all my prospects and my customers in a real-time manner across the channel that they want. Social media is one of these channels, and how I can link the rest of their data that have been in my organization all these years to being more predictive. So I'm going to apply the signal from social media, from my marketing campaigns, from my current internal data that have been there for years. Also from the commerce angle, that yes, customers are coming there, prospects are checking and browsing all of their the products that I have, how I can make sure to get back to them in the real time. Because when a customer is calling us, last thing that we need to engage with them as brands is just ask them all of these qualification questions that they've spent like 3 or 5 or even 10 minutes sometimes to fill all of these questionnaires. It happens a lot, especially in the likes of the banking sector. So technology is expanding. We've all seen the huge MarTech Lumascape that's been only 50 companies 7 years back. Now it's more than, I think, 8,000 companies. This is going to continue to grow. So there's a huge challenge among businesses, business professionals, that they need to think how technology is going to help them to drive their business and address customers at the right time, in the right moment. That's extremely important in the way we look at the technology.
Okay, very good, thank you. Tala, Ms. Tala, so what are the new techs that you've introduced this year? I know that you're doing AV, VR, so can you give us an insight on a little bit of some of the innovation you're doing?
Sure. Being an architecture company, so we are very much related into the construction industry. So sometimes people within our industry feel that social media is not our game and it's something we should stay away from. But, and this is a passion of mine, and this is why I try to bring it back to them, telling them this is a tool that everyone is using, how you can harness it to use it for you as an industry. So for us, the main, usually as a designers, they're good at communicating their designs, their drawings to audiences, but not good as communicating or selling themselves to their customers. So being video content, that's the most consumed kind of media that's used everywhere over social media, is something that's very important for us. And this is where we're trying now to take our designs and humanizing them and getting them more approachable for people. So using video content as the king thing that we're using right now. In addition to that, looking back at what technology that we can incorporate into our designs. So most of our projects that we are selling or showing to our clients, we get heavily involved into developing them into the VR stream. And the benefit of that, it brings it more human scale to them, and they can interact with massive scale of, let's say, a master plan. They can go into details and see and touch and kind of feel exactly how it's going to look like before it's built. So it gives us a very big advantage in that sense, that it brings it more closer to them, and then the decision-making process becomes much faster for them to select.
Yeah, so we're talking about augmented reality and virtual reality. So I think IKEA was one of the first ones to use this with the furnitures and all this. So this tech is moving so fast. So how are you staying ahead of the curve? You know,
staying ahead of the curve.
Just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best.
It is challenging, but the thing is, if you have passionate people about it and bringing it from start, so I would say that we are one of the first people to bring it into the market for us. And we have technology savvy people who are just, it's their dream. They love doing it. So they try from the start, bring it in. Even if the client doesn't have a requirement for it, we tried kind of planting the seed from the beginning. And then you see the engagement with it booms. And now our clients actually require us, can you bring your VR set with you when you are presenting this to whoever, this and that? And even yesterday, I had a meeting with them. They were like, Tala, we really like the things that you guys done. Can we bring it to an event happening next week? I'm like, yes, definitely we can. So it is booming, and it's how you pitch it and how you use it and how you promote it as much as you can. So, and at the end, the benefit is going to be for everyone who's using it.
Oh, very good, thank you. Melda, please, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You know, so we've heard of the other panelists. So is there anything that you can add to this, or maybe evolve on, or?
Yeah, our business is actually optimization. So mostly we say, okay, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and optimization. So the way that we put why optimization, because there is no solid answer. So the technology is like a research and development area. And today we're talking about, you know, the X software, and tomorrow we say that, oh, no, it's not working anymore because we changed the other one. So the social media, you know, let's get back 10 years, 20 years back. The first time that I saw Facebook, I heard Facebook, it was, I mean, I was so young in middle school, and I was shocked. Who gonna use? And no one were using around me except my British friends and who studies in California. Today, my grandmom gets upset because I don't like her picture. So it becomes, you know, the emotional space, the social space. Once we want to hire someone, we check their social media. How is LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook? I know people who got, you know, managed to be the shortlisted security companies. They just couldn't get the job because of their Facebook photos. Because
Yeah, you've heard of this, right? Yeah, it's. You know, it could hinder you on getting a job, right?
Exactly.
From a picture you posted on in high school or something.
Exactly. So not in the high school, even, you know, the 3 days back. Imagine that if I have one photo on the different version of me, you would maybe think about it, who is Melda? So what we do, you know, all of us, very busy lifestyle. And sometimes we don't even look at for the WhatsApp, because in WhatsApp, we need to say, hey, how are you? And there is an event I want to go. We cannot, okay, I want to go, would you like to come? It can be sports, it can be another event, or just a friends gathering. The social media is such a rich pool that we can get and learn from, the leverage these machine learning models to provide personalized service or the output for everyone. So I see a really big opportunity and future in social media. In case it can be used in a good way, how we gonna group that information, how we gonna create, you know, the better ways to manage companies' life and also people's life. So I think, and also from, you know, our other friends also said, this technology sector is evolving a lot, and the social media's effect and the technology, I think it's a direct link. So I see great opportunity on this, and as a company, we are now start investing on the social media data processing. So this is our new vertical as a D14 AI.
So how much is too much, you know, for social media? I mean, we've all heard this, content is king. How much content, right?
Which content?
Yeah, exactly, right? So how much is too much, you know? So when do we say, okay, will we ever go back to, you know, maybe non-social media styles?
If I may, yeah. I don't think we will, and I mean, I think I think we're probably asking the wrong question in terms of, you know, when is it too much? I mean, because, you know, the biggest area of development right now, if I look at what we're doing, for example, it's obviously AI, and AI is a big buzzword. But I'm not talking about the buzzword. I'm actually talking about actionable, you know, AI models that basically sift through. I mean, we do 10 billion predictions a day across, you know, the 2,500 customers when we work with, you know, the largest customers in the world, you know, Amazon and Google and Apple and so on and so forth. And I think people really do not realize the power of what is possible when you actually take any amount of data, right, and put it through a strong AI model to allow you to understand things like, intent and sentiment, and I mean, language is a very simple one, but so I think the future is around AI. It's not the future; it's actually the now, which is basically, really using the AI models to help you optimize your business, because you're gonna want to scale. You want to create that human touch that we talk about, human, but at scale. And to be able to do that, you're gonna have to basically use, the AI models to help you do that, because you cannot hire, 5,000 people to sit there and sift through. It's just impossible. I mean, that's what the pandemic has shown, and this is what we are, as a company, doubling down on in terms of, having that AI engine basically help companies. And we see that a lot. I mean, the latest example we had is Dell, where basically, we started the AI models for Dell on their care department. So they have, again, I mean, this is Dell Global, and they get messages and inquiries and service customer issues and whatever, and you can imagine, in the millions. And the interesting thing is, after running the AI models, we realized that 30% of the messages that were coming in were actually people asking to buy a product or request about a product, and these were not being answered because they were going the wrong, funnel, right? So you can imagine, the amount of potential, revenue or upsell or whatever if these. So as a short answer, I think it's not about how much is too much, because data is just going to go. I mean, the amount of videos we create every day, the amount of messages that are sent, it's just going to be exponential. It's about how you actually process and analyze that data.
Yeah, I would pick on that. So the question is not why. Why do we need, as brands, they should be on social media? That question is gone and forever. The question today is how. Especially that social media is now expanding. It actually expanded in terms of content. We started with text, then photos, then videos, and then there's a huge potential in voice as well. But the main challenge for brands is that, yes, their customers or their prospects are talking about them on social media, they're questioning them on social media, and they're searching for them on social media. It's becoming the source of traffic. And then if you link that in terms of, if you look all the way 10 years back, you will see that the source of traffic coming to the websites and the commerce platform, the mobile application, social media became first. It surpassed search engines, it surpassed display advertising, and so on. In addition, that even customers today are starting to buy directly on social media platforms. So as brands, they're facing a lot of challenges on how to connect all of these data sets coming from a fragmented social media platforms, because how many social medias are we all using? It's a lot. And we're not keeping pace with all this innovation and technology and how to make sure to read all this data. So what brands, they should think first is how to use social media channels as a source of data and customer interactions, and how they can connect all of these data sets to understand the intent and the customer service, how they can do it in a smarter way, and then apply their own machine learning and AI to not address the customer at the right time, but also predict what could be the next best action that a service agent should take, or what is the next best offer that a marketing professional should send for this particular set of customers. This is a huge question, and it lies along with the connectivity, or let's say, the more and more IT and marketing they work together, the successful the organization would be. Because, again, it's not a question, do I need to use tech? Do I need the social media? It's there and it's evolving. It's a question on how we can all collaborate together as technology partners, as the consultants, and even within the marketing, CX, or the rest of the organization under the technology platform.
Thank you. Imad, would you like to chime in a little bit and let us know how you and social media interact together?
First of all, I would be thank you for the organizers of the forum, and for you especially to amazing chance to be chairing the forum. in social media. I want to be sharing with you about interacting social media in sports. All fans of sports using intelligence, mobiles, and using social media even before 2 years ago because of coronavirus pandemic. All associations all over the world not allow for fans to attending the sports events in the stadiums or any events all over the world. Because of that, all people interesting for using social media to following their teams in the leagues. Even now, in the Pro League of Football in Emirates, we are organize the Football League, and the government of Emirates allow for fans to attending the matches with PCR before 48 hours. This chance give the fans of the teams to be using social media more, not like before. So the social media interacting for sports, especially football, more raising platforms like example Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and also sports players using platforms of social media to be engagement with their fans and using there for following their life, following their training courses, matches, to be engagement with them directly.
Correct. So before, as a kid, if you wanted to shake hands or see your favorite sports player, you literally had to go to the game, stand on the sideline, put your hand out, and hope they would come. Now, with social media, you can write a tweet or write something, and there's a good chance that the player will respond to your tweet or like your tweet, and now you have a real interaction with your hero, with your fans, right? Correct. So are you saying that your sports players are encouraged to use social media to interact with their fans?
Of course, like example, if we get the highest players, social media fans in the world, we can get Cristiano Ronaldo. He has now about 317 million fans. These fans of Cristiano Ronaldo can following him in his special life, not football life or football training courses, and promote him to following him every day. What Cristiano Ronaldo doing in his life, and what he the last transfer for him from Juventus club to Manchester United, and to be following action for him. Also, there is a dangerous case in the social media of the players, because if there is a bad content in the player Facebook or Instagram or any social media platform, can be not good for the fans. And more people angry with that. Because of that, it's dangerous to be effective for the player in social media.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is a question to all the panelists. So, do you think social media is geographical or it's global? So, what I'm saying, is it relevant only to where you are right now, or it could be relevant anywhere in the world from where you guys are? So.
Maybe I'll just. So I think it's also. We like to think about social media. Again, I always talk from the sort of the perspective of the brands, right? Not the individuals using social media. So if you think about it from a brand's point of view, I go back to my point of sort of trying to be human at scale, right? And that is the ultimate for brands. You want, think about, the butcher that you go and kind of get your meat from, or, the bread maker, or, every brand wants to be able to deliver a human experience individually to every single customer that they interact with, right? And that's the ultimate dream. And to be able to do that, you really have to be able to, you have to be able to listen, but listen deeply to all your customers, regardless of the geography, because that was the question, or the location, and basically customize. And again, Isam really articulated it really, really well earlier, right? Dubai Tourism basically operates in 100 countries or more, right? And the campaigns, if you look at how we work with them, it's, you have a campaign that goes to Russia, and then a campaign that goes in Africa, and then one in the Gulf. And each and every one of them is personalized to that geography, to that location, to that culture, to the needs of that location, and all based on the input, the listening, or the data that comes from the visitors or the prospects or the people that are talking and so on. So I guess my answer to the question is it's global. It's obviously global, but I think on the other hand, at the same time, you want to make it personal as well, from a brand's point of view. And that's what we try to do to help brands who have a strategy, because at the end of the day, technology is only an enabler. You got to have the right strategy, and you got to have the right will internally to actually take that strategy. When you have that, you can use technologies out there to help you actually achieve that vision.
Agreed? Or?
We totally agree,
Yeah.
because being a company based in China and recently coming to the region, we opened our office here 3 years back, a little bit just before COVID. So for us, as he said, it's all about messaging. Some messages can go globally, but also you have to be very specific to the regions that you're operating for. So depending on what content you're trying to promote or the message that you're trying to go for, it is possible to do it through creative storytelling, having something that is creatively abroad and that is resonates with people and their feelings and their emotions. This is the most important thing for you to reach to people. It's not just selling a product. This is looking at how brands or kind of companies who deliver maybe services to people, how they can reach them even more across. This is looking at different geographic locations.
Melda, do you
Yeah.
agree, or?
I totally agree, because it's a global. If it's a company, the company should invest the go-to-market strategy and the other marketing and the sales and the growth. So if the company focuses on Middle East, it's the valuable to look at the U.S. market, because it's always benchmark. But we cannot make our strategy based on the U.S. So they should think from global and to go to the local.
So specifically for here, with an opportunity to
Just
be
an
global.
example. For
Right.
example, the Snapchat's strategy for the Middle East is different. And Turkey is different. The US is different. So biggest companies as well is the same. We as a company, we focus on Middle East, but we're following very heavily what's happening in the US or what's happening in Australia. So we learn from them. We get this information as an input, then we localize. Because this is our focus for now.
All right, excellent.
So I think on this point, for organizations, the main, let's say, notion is think global and act local. And that's what all of businesses actually act when they come and establish their business in multiple countries. Because each and every market has its own dynamics, and business should adapt to that. The second question is regarding the actual users. Then the big question is to social media platforms, the way they operate. It is they taking the local insights as well to make sure to showcase to you the best content that locally you're most likely to engage with. So then for the brands, when they are on social media, they also should act within the localized manner. Hence, the question that we were all asked 10 years back, should I have a global page or should I have like a local page? And then if it is a regional page, then why not to have, let's say, market by market? And still brands still ask themselves each and every day how to action on that. But then it's all linked to the overall strategy and how they can link the pieces together.
Excellent. So, I mean, our topic of discussion today is the future of social media. So we saw last year, you know, COVID has obviously impacted the use of social media. You have people, for example, my parents who have never used social media before and are now using social media more than I am, right? We've also seen TikTok peak last year in 2020. So with this happening and with viral videos and with influencers and all that, where do we see, you know, does it get more than what we have here? Like, is it possible to see something bigger than TikTok or?
I think the trend is going to continue with the co-creation of content, right? That's what TikTok is about. That's why it became viral, because I think it was mentioned earlier as well that there is before TikTok there was a huge lack of there was a stalemate actually before COVID on some of the other social media channels around content, right? And TikTok came and completely changed the game with you can be a content creator individually, right? A kid can actually go and create content and co-create content, and so I think this trend is going to only just kind of sort of continue. And I think the other big trend that we see, and we work with Facebook very closely on, and other channels, is conversational commerce. And basically, conversational commerce is this idea which you probably already kind of witnessed a little bit of it, which is being able to, and I think it was mentioned earlier as well, the ability to basically interact and to actually buy and do commerce on a social media channel. And Instagram is already doing big things in that area, but we're going to see this across other social channels, and it is a big kind of fight of the platforms, if you will, around where is the the entry point into commerce, and you're going to see things with WhatsApp and WhatsApp being sort of having an Apple Pay version of WhatsApp and things like that as well. So I think this is a very interesting area. It's also an area that's going to continue to grow because, let's face it, right? Social media is by far the prospect. If you look at the customer journey, the prospecting part of it, probably 60 or 70% or even higher is actually done on social media today. And it's not just the millennial generation. If you look at Gen Z, if you look at, it's even more prevalent, right? People buy, they prospect and browse and look at products mostly through social media, and then end up on an e-commerce website or so on. So doing conversational commerce is also a huge trend, in addition to the co-creation of content, which is what TikTok and some of these other platforms are bringing.
Exactly. So you're like you mentioned, you're seeing 13-year-old influencers with 10 million followers. Now I'm wondering, is it a matter of time before this gets regulated? Marketing from these influencers becomes regulated, or should it be just an open platform for anybody to approach them and to use them to help sell their products?
I mean, for the tech perspective, it's might be a bit different. I think it's more marketing strategy is this. The only part that I can see, as you said, there are many influencers. And what happens, for example, if it's the B2B company, the influencer should be another level. For B2C, it should be another level. So, for example, if you just sell one product for the kids, definitely this 13 years old person would be the right match. But for us, as a technical side, I'm not sure we're just more get into it, because what we focus on, what kind of data they generate and what we can do based on it. So I think on the marketing perspective, you might better answer on this.
Depending on regulation, I think is always needed, because whenever you see something booming like crazy like this, and then someone is selling something that you don't want it to be sold, then yes, regulation has to come there. And we've seen this happen in the UAE when now you have the e-visas and the green visas, and creator visas, which is very interesting to attract people to do something like this, but within a limit. People are listening to them, looking exactly what they're promoting and what they're sharing. So definitely, I think the regulation is coming towards later, and I think the platforms themselves are learning from each other, and they're trying to better this media, that virtual world that we're living in, to make it a safe environment for people to interact with. Because again, you don't want to see negative comments, hates, and all the things the ugly things that we hear about. We want a safe environment where everyone can interact with. As brands also don't have that liability and find yourself in a situation that you worked with the wrong influencer at that time or something. There is a lot of questions about influencers, and I think there are other sessions coming up in the event here that I'm looking forward to hear more about this and how they're tackling the word that they're working with.
Excellent, thank you. So, 18 months ago, COVID hit, right? And now, I'd say we're coming out of it now, right? So when this happened, was it a good thing for social media? Did it help you guys, motivate you guys to push further, push harder, and realize that things were changing and you had to take the reins and push forward?
Well, I think we called it, in addition to it being a pandemic, an infodemic, right? Because it was an infodemic, right? I think, and especially in the first couple of months, and I think there was a lot going on, and data out there, and and fake news and rumors and so on. I think 15 versions of the truth on every single subject. So what we did actually is we really went to start with the governments across the world, including the UAE, where we work with a lot of governments, and to basically be able to help the governments basically try to understand, again, understand what's going on, but also understand what are the fake news and what the info, and what's the correct messaging. I think, and what we realized was that a big portion of it was, again, related to the readiness of, some organizations versus the others around the communication of their messaging, right? And how the messaging and so on, and how that tied in within the organization and so on. I think it was a I don't want to say it was a good thing or a bad thing. There were much bigger issues in the world at that point, and they are now around basically the actual pandemic, and so it doesn't compare. That is a technology issue, and does not compare to what was really happening on the ground, with the pandemic. But I think it was an opportunity, and it still is an opportunity for organizations to rethink their strategy of this modern world, if you want, or modern channel approach, right?
The new normal.
The new normal. I hate that word, but yeah, the new normal. But and basically having a consistent approach on how you communicate, how you handle crisis management, how you do marketing, how you do sales, how you do customer service, how you do care, and it's all sort of linked together. It's easy and much easier said than done, but it is a journey, and I think most of the organizations are kind of going through their journey. Some of them are still in the early phases. Some of them are very, very advanced. Again, going back to putting Dubai Tourism on the spot, or some of these other organizations as well.
Excellent, thank you. Anything to add? No?
Yeah, so interesting points, because it's a matter of connectivity between all the touch points that the users select on how they need to engage with their brands. So social media is one of these touch points. And the edge that it got, that it's also a platform to continue the complete transaction, whether it is service transaction or even in terms of sales transaction. Also, when it comes to B2B, then how social media is going to help them to deliver their messages and educate their customers or their prospects about their products. And then when the customers actually visit their website or start to engage with them, how they can utilize all of these insights in order to make sure to understand that, yes, this person has been visiting, he spoke to us before, and then how I can personalize the engagement, whether it is a phone call, whether it is a simple email, or a simple reply. And that's to what Haitham just mentioned. on how to take it in a scalable way across all markets globally, particularly for B2B companies.
Excellent, excellent. Agreed. Yeah, across the board. So I think the next one would be social commerce, and how are businesses using social commerce to promote their businesses, right? So is there any insight on that, or?
I mean, there are some companies, they just aggregate these social channels and to help the companies how they're gonna market their product. So we know many for these companies. So this is, the B2B. On the B2B side, again, they use, the, like you said, that I also think that AI is a buzzword, but using the technology and learning from that channels and the behaviors and the focus and how the analytic works. And now, for example, the companies, they were connecting to Facebook and then Instagram and Snapchat, and the Google is obvious, and Yahoo. Now they use TikTok also to generate more leads or to create knownness of their brand. So it's possible only technology, because what we're gonna do another hand, it's not logical to put 100 people to analyze that side and 100 people to other side. So connecting these points within the one aggregator platform, and these platforms, they also help the companies to have some clarity, transparency, and to create their agenda and their strategy. So this is a big, big market for them. People spend millions, two-digit, sometimes three-digit $million just for that kind of services for the big companies.
So it's important, and it would be something that would be used more and more and developed more and more in the future, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, because I don't want to, to give the spread the names, but even once we Google, we can at least 10 names as a company that provide that service. And the budgeting, on the B2B side is different than B2C. In B2C, there are more budgets need to be spared. And now we all live in social media. Even we woke up, we just open as an individual. But this is the good point. So we generate information for businesses to help them create their own growth.
Thank you.
I think there are two sides of the story. So number one is how users are actually engaging with the brands in order to decide whether to buy on the social commerce platform or not. And of course, the customers or the consumers are in control. So when it comes to the idea or how they're using AR or VR to make decisions, and it can completely happen on social media platforms. And then the last decision on the actual purchase, it is in the hand of the consumer. And plus, it's linked to how organizations want to tackle that. Do they want the transaction to completely, the full customer journey to happen on social media, or they need to take control of it towards the end of it? But then they're gonna risk the time, or maybe I would say the lag or the connectivity between the platform and their own platform. So they need,
or the experience as well.
Exactly. So they need to be completely ready. Then they're gonna use this signal and take this customer that, yes, I know that this particular person have been searching. He's engaged on VR, engaged on multiple, let's say, aspects on social media. Then I'm gonna service him or completed the sale in order to complete the transaction, and then use this data later on in AI, which I'm going to talk about it at a later stage.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that the customers are basically driving the innovation and what brands, customer experience is all about. First of all, I think we all agree that customer experience is where companies are competing. That's it. There's no other area, product and price and all of that stuff, it comes secondary. It is experience. And I think what's going to differentiate in commerce, what's going to differentiate brands is going to be the experience, of doing commerce from A to Z.
Because they're competing with a social platform in a way, if you think about it, because
Exactly.
it's complete convenient users trust the social media platforms. That's why they exist, and people are engaging and spending a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
So how do I need to spend more time on the website, the mobile application of the brand, compared to how much I spend time with the social media platform?
Exactly, and so it's about basically, you know, how can you search, but then how can you find the product, and then how you can actually transact, but then how can you service, and how you can have, again, with conversational commerce, the stresses on the conversation part, because all through that process, you want to be able to basically, you know, converse with the brand. It's like you going to a shop in a mall, right? You have someone who will actually help you go through the whole process and so on. So it's like bringing that experience, but doing it on a digital platform. And I think this is what's going to be next. What the innovation is going to be on when it comes to commerce.
Because it's getting easier, right? It's getting easier for everybody. Ordering a TV from Amazon.
Exactly.
Right?
The influence is too big. Because
Yeah.
how many people, I think by raise of hand, TikTok made me buy it. A lot of
Yes.
people are.
How many
on that.
purchases have you done, you know, where you,
Exactly.
especially in
You're
the
not convinced.
COVID?
You're like, oh, let me go through TikTok, let me see this. Oh, new bag. Oh, okay. You see it again, and you see it a couple of times. Oh, maybe I need it. So, and this is where you will see it. It's
And
gonna.
then you actually buy it, then they
Yes.
retarget you again, right?
Yes, buy the green one now.
We used to joke within COVID that you know to actually like look at how many products we actually bought that we didn't really need just because we found it and actually bought it because we saw someone else. So I think that is one of the things that are going to continue to grow in the commerce space.
Also in sports, some global clubs, football clubs all over the world, like example, Liverpool, Manchester City, can creating online fan membership on the website or social media of their clubs. We can apply for online membership, fan membership, and using these memberships or fans to be targeting some sponsors for the club all over the world, global.
So you can become a member of a Manchester
Yeah.
United club from
Yeah.
anywhere in the world now.
All
Right.
over the world.
Okay, and there's a virtual room you guys meet in.
Yeah, and these clubs targeting these fans all over the world to be actively with sponsorships, companies, brands.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. Very good. So with that said, I think we're going to come to an end. I think we're going to have a Q&A question for a little bit. If there's any questions you guys want to ask each other first, maybe, or anything like that? No? Pretty good. And then I think we're going to have something from Bassam.
First of all, thank you, and thank you, Paul. All right, so if you got any questions, we could take it right now, and if you feel a little bit shy, it's all right. You can talk to all the panelists later on within the coffee break. But before we leave, I got something right here. There you go. Have you seen that from Smashy? No? You know you can get a free subscription for 1 year? There you go. So, so this is for all of you. If you're a big fan of Smashies and you got too much of you like to listen to all the broadcasts and everything, this is your 1 year free subscription rather than paying right now. They're giving it for you, all of you, only our guests for today and the panelists and everyone for 1 year. So I think you have it somewhere on the chair. If not, they're all over the area. Small barcode, scan it, follow the rules. It's in English and Arabic. So then just put the code, which is ASMF 2021, and then you get the free subscription for 1 year. All right? That's from my side. Any questions from your side? Anything?
I don't think so. Yeah.
You got questions between each other? We had it before in the previous panelists. They start having a small discussion between each other. You got one? I got one question. Okay, let me get the mic. It's coming to you, Alan. 1 second. It's on.
Hello. Hi, I'm Alan, e-commerce manager in Rotana Hotels. I would like to address my question to Muhammad about the challenges. Like now on social media, it's all about videos, engaging content. Sure. The challenges of promoting such businesses and especially B2B business on these platforms. like the challenges of creating the content. So if you would like to share some advices of how you work on these things.
So yeah, it's not
And sorry, we're freezing as well. If you can reduce
Yeah, we're
Thank
gonna
you.
work on the AC issue. Don't
This
worry.
is why we are shaking. That's it.
We feel it, bro. Don't worry.
No
we
worries,
feel it.
I'm shaking too. It's been a while. So, in a matter of the content pieces, so all the businesses are going remote, so it doesn't really matter where exactly you are. But the big question is how to make sure that the content that you create is localized for your company in terms of the brand proposition. And the second thing is that you target audience you're talking to. And then with automation being in place in terms of content creation and content activation, you can now actually scale it. So you need to make sure that your actual team is empowered, they know how to use this technology, and then how they can scale it, and then running across all the marketing automation tools to make sure to address the right customers. And then it goes to, as I said before, the collaboration between now to your case, actually creative team, your data team who's getting all these insights, because some of the challenges that you're gonna get a huge trend on social media, how you need to activate your content immediately based on that. And then, so creative, data, and the technology, and of course, under the overall business strategy, where do you see your company in terms of activating all these content pieces, of course, to grow the revenue across all businesses.
Thank you.
Makes sense?
I got a next question just behind Alan, please. Zena, thank you.
Hello, my name is Cyrine, Digital Marketing Manager for Barcelona Hotel Group. I have a question regarding, what is for you, your opinion in terms of the most powerful social media channel here in UAE, in Dubai? As we know, like in KSA, Snapchat is one of the most powerful tool to reach out to the audience. So here in UAE, and why also? And the customer behavior, so especially for B2C segment. So, yeah.
That question is for who?
Anyone in the panels.
All right, who's the
All the
expert?
experts, yeah.
Somebody spoke earlier, I heard about Snapchat talking about, was you, right? Talking about Snapchat and saying, as she said, that it is a strongest tool in the UAE, especially for locals, that they're using it more than Instagram and other platforms. So I guess your question again, if you don't mind, just a little bit slower.
Yeah.
I got it. So
okay.
It's a common question across all. The question is it around usage, or is it around what's important for the company and where your target audience is? So the usage, of course, the numbers are all over the internet. You can see them, you can get them. But then organizations are actually trying to communicate with the users and then track back the influence and the actual transactions by source and by social media platform, and even by the time and the format that you have used. So that question, the organization itself should dig into and make sure to address, because it differs a lot between organizations. I think, Haitham, you can comment more on that, because service as well is very important on that.
I think it needs to be from my point of view, a mind shift in terms of, you gotta listen to what's out there and understand. We like to think about, companies need to make decisions based on data, not based on, I think thoughts and whatever. So we can give all kinds of thoughts about what could be the platform, but every platform is good for a different, for a different audience and for a different type of engagement. And the only way to actually do that is to actually understand what's out there, and then based a strategy, like I was talking about earlier with the example of, for example, Dubai Tourism or whatever. But so I think it all starts with listening to your prospects and audiences, and what is it that you're trying, the signals out there on all the channels, and then build the strategy that relates to that, to that, because you can do that across all channels, and then realize, okay, that's going to be my strategy on Facebook, that's going to be my strategy on Snapchat, that's what I'm going to do on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, like blogs, and so on and so forth, right? You really need to be everywhere, unfortunately today.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately, but as a brand, you have to be everywhere.
And consistent.
And consistently.
Right?
Consistent,
Yeah,
yeah.
and consistent.
We face this issue as influencers. We're like on all. Snap, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn.
Full-time job.
Facebook, TikTok. What else? Did I miss something? Gmail. But I mean, like, we're like,
Hotmail.
like, yeah. We're like everywhere, and that's not easy. That's not easy. Becoming there and being there, and then keeping up, and then every like platform have a different like a content that you need to create. One of them like comedy, one of them is just to be straight, and then if you're on TikTok, okay, like, let's take an example right now. In TikTok, we have a different platform where the clients are different, more sporty, more active, more comedy, more stuff. We go back to Instagram, they're like more formal, more corporate, more collaborated on those kind of stuff. And then we go into, when we go later to Snap, it's more like into trading and showing and cars and offers and promotions. And it was like a mental distress. Oh my God. Anyways, more questions. Do we got any more questions? We got one more question. We can take one more question, please. Yes, Zaina, if you don't mind. Please, your name and designation.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sabir. I'm an associate professor in American University of Ras Al Khaimah.
Nice.
My question is for anyone who can answer. My question is in regards to privacy. We spoke about social media listening. We spoke about big data. I think a lot of speakers spoke about big data and how it's important to listen to and understand big data. What are your concerns regarding privacy? Because we have seen that particular criticism with Facebook, how they deal with the data. When you deal with brands, does that something that you talk about with brands? And when you're giving them data, from general user base, what are your thoughts on privacy?
There are actually, some regulations on this data privacy. So it should be, of course, we need to use that one. For example, one of the good examples in healthcare. So in healthcare, there is one international data privacy we all know. One is the GDPR. And also, in the country-specific, there are some regulations. For example, just the basic example, none of the data cannot be transferred between the countries. It should be in that country, and also if it's also the cloud's physical service should be within the country. So I cannot say, for example, okay, I'm gonna use the cloud, but the physical service in Bahrain or in Saudi, we cannot say. So that's why we work with lawyers. And whenever change in the regulations, we use and we implement our system based on these regulations. And even, for example, on the GDPR, even the end user allow us to use it. We still cannot use it because of the country regulations. We are not allowed to.
Yeah, and from our point of view, I mean, we work with a lot of regulated industries as well, banking and government and so on. And there are multiple layers of this. There is a technology layer. There's a regulatory layer. And yes, we do spend a lot of time helping our customers, our brands, understand, what's the limitation of what they can do, because there are also limitations on the other side of the coin, which is coming from the channels, which is something that we do as well. So Twitter has its own thing, Facebook has its own thing, and so on and so forth. But my message is, do not let the regulation side of it should not basically stop. If banks can do it, if governments can do it, if telecommunication companies can do it, retailers can do it, I think there are ways to actually ensure that the data is protected. There are ways to ensure that the regulations are protected. And the positives outweigh the potential sort of negatives that can also be really handled in a very, very, very consistent and regulated way.
I would actually add another point on this is it is a matter of transparency. So brands should be transparent with their customers that yes, we are collecting your data and that's how we are processing it. And then that's why you have a lot of tools related to consent management, and then yes, you can actually opt out if you don't need your data to be used. So organizations should be transparent with their customers or even with their prospects on how to address that and how they're using their data, because there's a lot of things that can be done with this data, even to actually help the customers and the prospects.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we're gonna.
Yeah, well, I guess that's it. If there's no more questions, we'd like a round of applause for our panelists here. Very insightful. Thank you very much for coming by and sharing your knowledge with us about the future of social media and digital media. So I hope you guys had fun, right? And thank you very much. Yeah?
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Everyone.
Yeah.